I'll click go live.
Yep, that's it. That's it right there. Yep. Okay, I think we're ready to get started. Thank you so much for everyone who's joining us for this Boomi versus Bufficorn NFT battle workshop. Pretty excited to do this workshop at ETHDenver. It's our first time here. Just out of curiosity, anyone else here at ETHDenver for the first time?
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Okay, awesome. Yeah, this has become now the staple for the Ethereum circuit for sure, and we're really excited to be here. We're actually running this workshop in conjunction with a 36-hour challenge that kicked off this morning. And so we'll go through those details in just a few minutes, but highlight that there is an ongoing challenge where you can win some prizes as well from that. I think we're offering just over $2,000 for basically building the best NFT gallery that you can using both Boomi and the Bufficorn collections. So very quickly, my name is Harish Rezingani. I am the head of developer relations at Covalent, and I am joined by two lovely colleagues here, so I'll let them introduce themselves.
Somewhere. Oh no. Hi, I'm Lei. I'm in product marketing at Covalent, and then we have Meltem as well, who's our amazing events manager, joining us too.
Awesome, and I think we've got a couple of support folks on online as well to help us out. Adam is our head of API, and for any technical questions, we'll look to him for some answers there. So first, we're going to start with the most important question of this entire presentation. Who is Boomi? If anyone here is part of the Covalent ecosystem, they may know, but we'll let maybe Leilani talk a little bit about who Boomi is and what it represents for Covalent.
Yeah, sure. So if you've noticed our t-shirts or on the workshop title, if you saw that and came without having any prior knowledge of what Boomi was, thanks for doing that. It's actually our CEO's dog, who he got a puppy last year in COVID, and our entire company kind of jumped on the bandwagon and got obsessed with it and made it our unofficial mascot without telling him, and then it's transformed into now like all of our swag and our community pet basically. So we decided to go ahead and just go full out and make an NFT collection around Boomi as well, and later on we're going to be basically battling it out between that collection and the beloved Bufficorns. So yeah.
Awesome, and I think all of us here are familiar with Bufficorn. To be honest, a month ago I didn't even know what a Bufficorn was, and here we are now wearing t-shirts with it on it. So what we want to do is actually make this a little bit fun and interactive. So again, show of hands who's participating, and we can kind of break up the group here. So what we're going to say is anybody who is seated on one of these chairs here or on the back couch, you are going to be part of Team Boomi. Okay, and everybody who's on a table in the corner there, you're going to be part of Team Bufficorn. And we've got some really awesome t-shirts as prizes, along with some other swag that we'll be handing out. And if anyone else wants to join us, we'll get them allocated into the different groups here. So our first challenge, first battle is to find the following. So find the contract address for the Boomi collection and the Bufficorn Buidl Brigade collection. So we're just looking for the first 6 characters of the contract address, and we also want the chain ID of the collections for both the Boomi and the Bufficorn. So we'll take just a minute here and see if anyone can come up with both the contract address and the chain ID for those respective collections. And just put up your hand when you've got it. Maybe you can show what the t-shirts look like, and there we go. All right, did anyone find it? So if you go to OpenSea and you search for the Boomi collection, you should see the contract address that's associated with that, and the same thing with the Bufficorn. And you will also see what chain or blockchain each of those collections has been minted on.
Looks to me like it's Bufficorn is 0x20988EA on mainnet.
Nice.
Good. And any, you know what the chain ID for mainnet is? You got it. Awesome. So that's for Bufficorn. How about for Boomi?
I'll give a sticker so we can mark the t-shirts.
Yep. Has anyone got it for Boomi? Okay. We'll just give the, anyone trying this? You're trying it? All right, what is it? Colin here's got it. Starts with an F. You got it. And you happen to know what chain it's on? Yes, and chain ID for that's 137. So awesome. So we got a t-shirt over there, and this gentleman over here also gets a t-shirt. Awesome. So what we just covered there, we're actually going to use in a couple templates a little bit later on. So here are 5 things that we're going to cover in this workshop. We're going to take a quick look at you know, some of the data challenges around Web3 and also an introduction to what Covalent is. We're going to talk a little bit about the unified Covalent API and a bit of a deep dive into what exactly that is. We're going to use that to access NFT data. And we are then going to talk a little bit about the NFT battle and the prizes that we have to offer. And anyone taking part in the challenge will hopefully have a little bit of time for you to actually work on that project. So 5 things you're going to leave here with. You know, you're going to experience what this unified Covalent API is. You're going to have a customized NFT collection dashboard. We've got a template for that Leilani is going to walk you through, setting it up for any collection on most of the major blockchains. We're going to also show you a couple of cool templates that you can use for both the challenge as well as your ETHDenver build. And there's some cool 3D animations that we've got, again, as code templates that you can literally fork and work with. You've, of course, got POAPs, and hopefully we'll leave here with some lasting friendships and memories. Okay, so we at Covalent like to do this really quick thought experiment where we ask, you know, 2025, what do you think Web3 adoption is going to look like in that time frame? And so some of the dimensions that we sort of think about this is, you know, whether we're going to be looking at one primary chain or is it going to be a multi-chain future? You know, what might be some of the interesting use cases? What are the trends towards building decentralized apps and adoption, number of users, developers, etc. And so our positioning is that, you know, with DeFi and FinTech merging, you know, we're going to see a lot more, you know, what we call valuable information being on public blockchains. This might be things like your taxable, you know, trading events. It might be, you know, who here is familiar with POAPs? Awesome. Okay, most people here are great. So, you know, the idea of having your digital moments, your, you know, badges, credentials, maybe even some honorary degrees being stored on chain in the form of these collectibles like POAPs. In terms of dApps, you know, we see with open source code and composability, the ability to quickly and rapidly prototype and build all sorts of interesting dApps. And so we expect to see many dApps even behind the scenes impacting our lives on a day-to-day basis. You know, we see billions of users being on chain, and with the tech to improve, you know, throughput and transactions per second, such as, you know, rollups and sharding, it means we're going to have so much data. And this will lead to some interesting Web3 data challenges. So what are those challenges? In fact, maybe somebody here can comment on what are some of the challenges with accessing blockchain or Web3 data that you've encountered. Has anyone faced any issues? Has it been easy? Is it nice and clean cut?
And nodding heads.
Just talking about it, making Colin mad here. All right. So we like to kind of bucket these challenges into sort of these three categories, accessibility, and the fact that you might have to invest some resources for, building custom queries, or have to wait for that data to be indexed, or have to pay a lot for a hosted service or even data access. With scalability, we know that Web3 data is messy. And so having a scalable solution to sort, filter, distill out that signal from the noise is essential. There's limitations with making JSON RPC calls. We firmly believe that, any solution to this data challenge has to go above and beyond the JSON RPC layer in order to scale effectively. And having your dApp scale with the increased costs. If you're working with a hosted node infrastructure provider and require historical data for your application, let's say it's provided by a full archive node, already we're hitting 10 terabytes for what that node looks like. And so you're likely going to end up paying more to be able to access that data in the future. And then finally, interoperability. Having to implement different solutions to access data from different protocols, especially if they're non-EVM. We personally saw this. We recently announced that our API supports Solana for getting your balances. And, we went through a lot of challenges to be able to even offer that up through our existing API framework. So data challenges just means that there's more friction. It means that there's barriers for adoption. And so our vision of a solution to these Web3 data challenges is to have, a need for a unified data solution, which means decentralized, accessible, scalable, interoperable, connects multiple blockchains to your clients and applications, and allows you to build, anything that comes to mind. It also means that, your requests and responses, data structures are consistent and predictable, regardless of if you're using, Ethereum or parachains on Polkadot or Solana. Hey. So what Covalent has to offer is a data layer as a single unified API, which is natively multi-chain, can be used by developers and analysts alike. So we offer, different structures for different users, and can be queryable without having to host a node infrastructure. I mean, if you want to do that in the future, you absolutely will be, but that's not necessarily a requirement to be able to work with our API. Now, we did mention, decentralization, and those of you who are familiar with Covalent might ask, well, Covalent isn't currently decentralized. So to which we say, not yet, but it's absolutely where we're headed. And the reason why, we're naturally progressing towards decentralization is because, if you take a look at our current solution as a centralized indexing, query, and storage solution, is that scalable? And I think from our perspective, the answer is, well, we could put up a paywall to help us cover the cost for people to use our API. But this is a nascent space and it's evolving, and we don't want to hinder that growth. We want to make it as easy as possible for developers like you to be able to utilize a tool to get all your Web3 data so that you can use it for your Web3 experiments. And so by decentralizing and bringing in our blockchain partners to be part of that indexing, query, and storage solution, it creates this flywheel where more accessible data is more attractive to devs and brings more devs into the ecosystem, which means there's greater demand for that data. And our partners also want to grow their ecosystem, so there's incentives for keeping that network cost for data low. So this is how we see ourselves scaling as a core infrastructure provider for Web3. And we're well on our way towards this process with our first critical component being open source. It's a spec called a block specimen spec, which sets a unified canonical data model for all blockchain data, regardless of the source. And so we actually have a pretty good detailed blog post on this at covalenthq.com/blog if you're interested. But let's move on and actually go through the process of getting an API key and then taking part in a few more quizzes and challenges that we have for you. So if you haven't done so already or haven't had a chance to set up a Covalent API, if you go to covalenthq.com/platform, you can get started by getting your API key. It's completely free.
you want to help me put this on the screen?
Yeah. Here. Oh, I don't know. Can you point me to where that? Let's see.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'll just open it up in another tab. That's
Okay.
fine. Just do like this. Okay. If you've set up your API key, then the second battle is to find the following.
So if you went to covalenthq.com/platform and signed up for the API key, you might have noticed on the sidebar there on our platform page, we have a couple of updates, which are usually just things that we've recently added to the API. So pay attention to those. And the second battle is for the Boomi team, name 3 blockchains for which we index all NFT market data, and that's in our NFT endpoints. So there's a couple ways to find that. Or for the Bufficorn team, name 3 Uniswap-like protocols that are supported by our XY=K endpoint. So you can either, go back to the latest updates, find them on the docs, or you could probably guess as well. We'll accept all of those.
Which team is which again?
This is
If you're over
Boomi.
here, Boomi, and if you're over there, Bufficorn.
That's
But
Bufficorn.
go ahead if you have an answer for one.
You got an answer for one? You can take an answer for either one. That's fine. All right, 3 blockchains for which all NFT market data is supported by our API. Anyone? Got one?
BSC.
Okay. You said Ethereum? Okay. And?
Correct? Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's 3 there. And how about for the Bufficorn challenge? So 3 Uniswap-like protocols, which are supported by this universal point, this endpoint, so that you can create analytics boards for any one of these clones with just a few clicks.
So think like the main kind of decentralized exchanges on different chains.
Can I guess one?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
All right, PancakeSwap.
PancakeSwap. Yeah.
All right. How about one on Avalanche? Somebody think of one on Avalanche?
Go.
Yeah. Trader Joe. Perfect.
Okay. And then, of course, let's get one on Ethereum here, of course. There you
Yeah.
go.
Something I was gonna say something you eat. Nice. Okay.
So it's actually a pretty comprehensive list of different dexes that we support. So I encourage you to check them out. You can basically use a handful of, I think, 9 or 10 API endpoints that allow you to build these analytic dashboards very, very rapidly. And we've got some templates that we can show you after.
Mm-hmm. And behind that, if you're curious, we say Uniswap-like protocols just because most of those exchanges are basically a direct copy of the original Uniswap v2. So that's why we're able to set them all up through that endpoint pretty easily and just query all the same data through each of them. Do I just do this? Okay, so we kind of touched on a little bit of the features of the Covalent API earlier and sort of why there's a need for our product in this space, but then I'm going to go a little bit deeper and actually walk you through the different types of data you can get and sort of what the endpoints actually look like as well. So first, this is kind of like the flow of data from blockchains like Solana, Binance, Ethereum, which you can see some of the 26 plus that we index. And then you can see indexing nodes are that middle step, and Covalent sits right there. So we basically take care of all of the data extraction. And then we format this into endpoints that are queryable by the user, which are Class A endpoints and Class B endpoints right now, and then coming soon are Class C. So basically what those are, Class A endpoints are just broad queries across any of the different chains that we support. So this is how you can get transaction data or get log events by topic hashes or by contract addresses or get NFT metadata. And I'll actually walk through the docs in a little bit so you can see what those look like. But those work across, again, any of the different chains we support. And then Class B endpoints are some that we've built out that are actually protocol specific. So little shortcuts that apply to protocols like Uniswap or Aave, and you can check those out. And that's also where you'll find the XY=K endpoints for any of those dexes that use that framework. So you can find all these little shortcuts. And then our next step coming this year, which we're actually really excited about, is to kind of open this building process up to the community and help us scale a little bit as well. So people can actually, going forward, build their own endpoints and then get portions of rewards every time people use that. So a little bit like an Apple App Store experience where you'll be able to search through, see different endpoints that other developers have built, and then if you use those, they get a portion of those rewards. So really excited about that. That's one of the major milestones for this year, along with some other things. But currently, the use cases that we support there's kind of like the big obvious ones like wallets or NFT galleries or analytics dashboards. But there's also some smaller kind of not as thought of use cases like taxation, which is something that we often forget about, and needing like a really granular history of transactions. Also, gaming data is something that we're getting into now as we see more games on chain. So we're actually releasing an ebook next week that some of our research team has done analytics on chains like Ronin and analyze some Axie stats and pull data from other on-chain games to kind of look at those ecosystems and go through the economics there. So we like to say there's one unified API and 1 billion possibilities. So basically we participate in a lot of hackathons and we see some new use cases come out like every time that are pretty cool that we haven't seen before. Another one of those is KYC, and I'll actually touch back on that later, but yeah. So to kind of go a little bit further and what we're looking at next, this is our development and priorities. So Adam, who's our main API engineer, is also online with us who can answer some questions after. But basically our approach to scaling is to, one, launch those Class C endpoints and make things community built and also a little bit owned as well. And then two, that's what I just said. And then expanding on our NFT data. So currently, because of our approach to fully indexing the entire blockchains, we're actually able to provide like a volume-weighted market data average. So you can see NFT collections in the context of them across different marketplaces and different chains, which you can't really do elsewhere because you would just be using a single API for that particular service like OpenSea or whatever market it is. So we provide like an aggregate view. And then we're going to expand a little bit more on that as well and get more granular NFT sales data. And we're actually seeing some really cool use cases pop up in terms of speculation for that, which is pretty interesting. So another thing we're doing, this ties back to KYC, which I mentioned, is identity endpoints. So we're kind of seeing a need in this space to like basically classify wallets and classify users a little bit more. And that can help us build better applications and also see and flag wallets that might have interacted with the mixer or been involved in hacks or things like that. So we're exploring this right now, which is pretty interesting and opens us up to some more opportunities. And then also we'll be basically improving our AMM pricing. So this will get to the point eventually where we're actually able to detect more arbitrage opportunities and get the fastest basically on-chain AMM pricing there. So one of the other things that we wanted to ask since we're here is if anybody has an interest in sort of endpoints that they would like to see built, or maybe like easy, quick data shortcuts that would really help them on a topic that we haven't covered. So if you have any, feel free to raise your hand and bring them up now. Otherwise, I'll continue. And you can also always put these in our Discord, or we actually have a governance forum as well if you check out our Covalent ecosystem. So we accept feature requests and things like that for the API. So yeah, if you'd ever like to see something that we build, let us know. So I'm going to just walk through what the docs actually look like a little bit. Let me put it on the screen. And then that way you can see the features and the different kind of classifications for the endpoints. And something that's kind of unique about our docs is that you can actually try all of it live. So you can just head to the browser and follow along if you're interested, or anytime you want to play around, you can basically fetch data in just a couple seconds.
All right.
So I
You're
can
able to
just
do it
see
from
it from
here?
here. Where's my mouse? Oh, there we go. Okay.
That works.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, if you go to covalenthq.com/docs, that'll take you to our knowledge base. And then if you add /API onto that, you'll find our API reference page. So this is the interface that you can work with basically, and how you can see those different classifications on the sidebar here. So class A, which again, they kind of go across any of the different chains we index, and then class B, which are the protocol specific ones. So the first thing to actually note is we added this global settings bar at the top here. So this is actually how you can pre-configure the chain ID that you want to work with. And if you click this, you can see all the different blockchains that we support. So all of these are fully indexed. And again, that means that any of the different class A endpoints, you can play with each of those chains. And then as well as that, you can actually set your response currency right here too. So not all of us are working in USD. I mean, I know most of the time it is, but you can set it on a different quote currency if you're interested in doing that, or for whatever application you're building. And then something that we recently added, which Harish kind of touched upon, is one of our kind of growing user bases is actually analysts, because there isn't really other ways to get blockchain data easily and quickly, besides a tool like this, which you would use in a matter of minutes that doesn't really use code. So one thing we did is we added an analyst mode to our docs, which basically means that typically when you query any of these endpoints, you get a JSON response. But if you click analyst mode, we actually built in tables, and basically you can download a CSV of whatever data you're returning. So it makes it a little bit easier for people that are interested in building analytics tools, dashboards, or if they actually just want to analyze their own data. For me personally, looking at balances that way is a little bit easier to see rather than like going through JSON responses. And yeah, you can see basically any person's wallet in like a nice little spreadsheet if you want to. So the broad kind of categories here is balances. This is definitely our biggest use endpoint, so our get balances for address. The reason being is that we actually do a really, really deep scrape. So we actually pull data from through log events. So basically we're able to return more than you would see necessarily on an Etherscan. So you can see all token balances for an address on any of those chains. And there's a new ticker beside it just because that means we recently added something. And what we recently added was Solana, which was a pretty cool experience for us because the other blockchains that we indexed were all EVM chains. So it was a lot easier, and Solana took us like months to go through. Sorry, that laugh is loud. But yeah, it's quite a burden on the team. And then, yeah, so you can actually, if you go to this endpoint, you can see here, just in the notes, the chain ID for Solana, because they don't really have one. So we kind of made one up, and I forget what this is, but it's meaningful in some way. Our engineering team had fun with it. So yeah, you can get historical portfolios for addresses, really any sort of balances or transaction data, transactions you can expand on right here. And then we also have our NFT endpoints, which I'll go through a little bit more in depth since we're going to do just a little walkthrough of that code template. But just to give you a snapshot, these are the new ones. So that market, the global view of market data is basically like volume weighted sales on chain. And you can also see historically like how many NFTs for a certain collection have been sold in the past 24 hours, for instance. And you can also use this to build collection dashboards or galleries or whatever. And this historical data for collection allows you to drill down further into a particular collection that you're interested in, and you can graph things like historical floor prices or any other sort of kind of market data that we can pull through there. So I'll show you a dashboard that does exactly that in a little bit. And then we also just have our base endpoints here. So these are kind of all of the foundational aspects that you would maybe use in conjunction with the other ones, but things like get a block height, so you can find like dates that way if you're looking through log events for a particular date range, get contract metadata, get all chains, things like that. And then yeah, I would just encourage you to kind of go through some of these other ones and play around on your own time. But yeah. Oh, my mouse. Can I exit this one?
Do you want to go back to the first picture?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Here, just go back up to.
Okay, cool. So we have another battle. Now that everyone knows where the docs are, this might be easier. So battle number 3 is to find the total number of CQT token holders on January 1st, 2022. So CQT is covalent query token, just so you find the right one, and maybe we'll bring up that address just so everyone knows. But essentially, using the API, you can actually do that in the docs, find the date, and then be able to find the number of token holders on that date. So, yeah, go ahead.
We can maybe even just like walk through this one after in a couple minutes here,
Yeah, sure.
how it's done. The reason we picked January 1st is because you can actually go to like Etherscan, for example, and you can get like a historical trend of token holders. So we wanted to make it just a little bit more challenging. If you wanted to go back in history to any point since the deployment of the CQT contract, you can actually get token holders from the very beginning.
Maybe we should have a countdown.
So how would you do this using the API?
Yeah, exactly.
And then what would you use for the block height? Yeah, we actually, in the base section, we actually have an endpoint that you can specify a date, and it will actually give you the range of block heights between any starting and end date.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Did you want to do it?
Yeah, I just bring up the thing again.
This is like really hard
Do you
to
want-
navigate. Let me try to do this. Okay. It's like I can barely see the mouse here.
It's a little harder to see the screen sharing. There we go. I think you should walk through it and then I'll do the NFT one.
Okay. So if I was back at the docs here, and we can actually do this directly from the docs themselves. So let's go to get block heights, and I can specify a start date and an end date here. There's the example request that I can actually run just to see how this endpoint works. But I can even obviously specify a custom request here. So we can tell it, all right, let's do. And let's just go to. And run that. Okay. So this tells us that the very first block basically, so I'm going to just take it that this is
Round it.
at 000 at the very first block of 2022. So that's my block height number there. And then we can just go to under balances, and we can get the token holders as of any block height. And so in my custom request here. Now, did you find out what the contract code is for CQT?
Yes, it ends with 6240.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm just going to copy this over. So if you go, I mean, you can go to EtherScan, for example, and you can grab that contract address. Just going to replace it here. And here's the thing with the page size. So by default, we return 100 records. So I'm just going to put this to some like large number here so that we get the full range. And so this is your list of items of all the token holders as of that particular date. So we can take a look at what the very last item here is, which is going to be 5719. So there's 5,719 token holders as of January 1st, 2022 at 0th hour. And what's cool is, as Leilani kind of pointed out, if I go to analyst mode, I can actually get this in a spreadsheet. And I can simply just export that and be able to use it in Google Sheets or Excel or whatever. So we do offer both very convenient export mechanisms to use that data.
For airdrops, for example, this is a common way to get a snapshot of all particular token holders and then send it to all of those addresses, which you can see right there. So, yeah. And then our NFT endpoints. So again, if you're on the docs, you can follow along through these. But basically, you can get token balances or address in the balances section, which actually not only returns your crypto assets, but also your NFTs. So that supports ERC20s and 721s and what else? 1155 too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you can get NFT token IDs of a contract. So you can get a list of all of the different IDs, for instance. You can get transactions for any NFT that you're interested in. You can also get all of the metadata. So this is one of the most heavily used endpoints here, which popped up a lot for making galleries, for instance, or wallets. But basically all of that metadata pulls the owner and then all of those attributes, and then also gives you an image as well that you can use to display NFTs. And then the global view and the historical data, which I kind of already touched on, but that's, again, the market data, and then allows you to drill down a little bit more and display something like you see on the right, which is actually a NFT dashboard that we made that you can actually fork directly from our GitHub. And I'm going to do it. It takes about 5 minutes to make any dashboard and display a particular collection like that, and it'll show you basically that chart is showing historical floor prices, and you can actually set that across different date ranges. You can also see previews of the NFTs at the bottom, and if you click on them, you can see their metadata. So it's just a really cool way for anyone to build their own dashboard to showcase a collection they're interested in, or maybe their own as well, and something that people can build upon even further. So I'm actually going to just show you how you would do this. It really actually does take like a couple minutes, and then get started. And you can find more templates as well that we've built on our Replit. So if you use Replit, if you find Covalent on there, we actually have quite a few use case templates that we made that are just sort of pre-formatted so people can click, fork them, and then quickly expand upon them, which is really useful for hackathons, maybe some of the projects that you're actually building for ETHDenver as well. Can I drag this over?
Yep, just drag it over.
Okay, that's way easier.
And then just do this.
Okay, cool. So if you open the, if you find, yeah, I guess you need the link for this.
It was on the previous slide. If you just go to github.com/covalenthq, you'll find this NFT dashboard template in our GitHub repo.
Yeah, it's literally called NFT dashboard template on the Covalent HQ repo. So when you open it up, you can also follow along the instructions just on the README here. It actually just has detailed instructions on how to do all of this, everything I'm going to go through, as well as the live demos so you can see what those sites look like and play with them. But to get started, there's kind of two prerequisites that you'd want to have. So one, know whichever collection that you want to display and have that contract address ready. And then, yeah, well, two is like basically have the contract address ready. So just know the collection and find the contract address, which is usually a combination of OpenSea and then verifying it on a block explorer like EtherScan. But this template works currently on Ethereum, Polygon, and Avalanche. So if you want to pick anything from any of those marketplaces, you can go ahead. And I'm actually going to build a quick dashboard showcasing our Boomies, just for fun, and show you how to do that. So the other things I need to pull up is that Boomi collection on OpenSea, which is,
You just need the address?
well, didn't we have the tab?
Yep, we do.
Yeah. Just to showcase it.
Just can't even like see the mouse here.
Oh, it's on there. I didn't even realize. You're right here.
Sorry, you wanted me to?
Just the OpenSea like Boomi collection.
Okay, just grab it from here
Yeah.
and drag it across.
Yeah, I will.
So this template is actually pretty cool. You just fork it. It's actually already configured to work with GitHub pages. You just update the config with your collection address, contract address, and it will actually auto deploy it and host it at your GitHub pages URL. So you can literally get this collection dashboard up and running in 5 minutes.
Yeah, so this is the collection that we made for Boomi, our CEO's dog. And I'm just gonna use OpenSea to just like showcase it right now, and then you'll see it displayed on our template. And I'm gonna click on one of these NFTs and just check like the details so I can get the contract address from there. I think I'm clicking on the right tab. That's it, yeah. Can't really see it.
It's right up there in the.
Can you see
Well,
where
I
I'm
see.
copying it? Is that copy?
I think, sorry, if you go and just click on this here. There's
Top one?
No, just get out of that menu and just click on it.
Oh, okay, I was just gonna copy it from here, but okay. So you can just take it to the block explorer. Ours is minted on Polygon, so it's gonna take you right here. And then I'll just copy that address directly from the block explorer. But you could also do that on OpenSea directly. So you don't really need this step. It's just that in the past, I don't know if you're familiar with or working with OpenSea, but sometimes it doesn't actually show you the right contract address. So just something to be mindful of. And then, yeah, once I have that copied, that's like pretty much the main thing I need to be able to do all of the rest of this. So I guess I'll just drag this away really quickly. And then we're back to here. So what I'm gonna do is go up to the top and just click use this template. You don't even need to like open a pull request or do anything else with this. You just need to create a little repo name. So I'm gonna call it Boomi dashboard. And then you just need to make sure that you check include all branches, and that's it. And then you just create a repository like this. So that's how you fork all of our templates, basically, the ones on GitHub. And then if you're on Replit, it's a button as well. And the first thing I'm gonna do is, normally I do the website first, but I think I'm gonna do that after because I want to edit the config. So first thing we're gonna do is just make sure that you're on the main branch right here. So that's where we're gonna make all of our changes. And then it's essentially updating 2 files. So one of them is the config file, and that's how you're gonna set up the actual collection and what it's gonna look like. And then the other one is just the homepage, which is how you're gonna deploy it afterwards. So I'm gonna do the config first just because I have the collection copied and I don't wanna lose it and pull up the screen again. So I'm gonna go to the SRC folder right here. Again, all of this is in the README, so don't worry if it's like a lot of steps. But then you just wanna go to the config file, and basically, you're just gonna update a couple lines in here. So the collection address that I copied, I'm gonna paste it right there. And then I'm gonna change the chain ID to be whatever chain it's on. And they're listed at the bottom, the ones that this template supports, so you don't have to search for it. And then I'm just gonna set like a title and maybe a banner image. So you can actually do all of this. I lost my mouse again, right here. So if you click edit file, I'm just gonna copy this carefully. Okay. I think that did it. This is so scary. Where's my mouse? Is anyone seeing my mouse? It just disappeared.
Pasted it correctly.
I know, but
Yep.
where'd this roller go? Do you want to see if you can
That's
find
it.
it?
That's right.
Okay, cool. I've just been doing that the whole time. Nice. Okay, and then I know that we minted those on Polygon, so the chain ID is 137, and you could scroll down and see those right here. So basically 1 for Ethereum, 137 for Polygon, and then Avalanche's is right there if you wanted to do something on that marketplace. And then, where is it? Okay, found it again. Lost it again.
You gonna rename the collection, or
Yeah, just trying to find the mouse.
you can actually even deploy it just like this.
Yeah, I know.
Just go down. If you go down to the bottom and just
Okay.
commit those changes.
Well, I could also update a banner and the collection address, but just because it's a little challenging here, I'm not going to. But basically, you just have to change that line with whatever title that you want. And then for the banner, you can actually copy an image address offline, or you can make your own banner, whatever you want. But then you're basically just going to click commit changes. You don't need to do anything because it's automatically going to update the config. So you can see the changes here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is just check where I'm going to deploy it. So I'd go to settings. And then I'm going to go and click on pages since we're using GitHub pages. And then I can see this URL, and this is actually where I'm going to be able to see my dashboard, which you can see as my title there from the repo I created. So I'm just going to copy this. And then I'm going to go back to my code and make one more edit, which is just to set the home page as that URL. So again, just double check that you're on main. And then you're just going to do this in the package file. And it's just where it says homepage. That's what you want to edit. So where did I go? There we go. Do this again. And then, nope. It's like a test of my eyesight.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm doing this.
Like,
I think that's correct. Cool. And how do I scroll? There we go. Cool. Find my mouse again.
it's like coding biathlon.
I know. like literally can't find it. There it is. Okay, commit. There we go. Cool, so I updated that. And then if you want to see everything basically deploying, the changes that we made, you can just go to actions and you can just wait for these to turn green. So typically like on a normal computer, when you're doing this yourself, it takes me like 60 seconds, but obviously walking through it's going to take a tiny bit longer. But usually the longest waiting time in this process is literally just like the building and deployment. And then, yeah, once all of that's green, we can go and check out what it's going to look like. And just go back to settings and click on our pages URL, and I'll show you that in a second. One thing to note that I didn't do because of the scroller is that floor price graph is not going to return anything for this collection just because we made it up in there. Like it's not actually trading, but it's just like to show you how the dashboard actually looks. So just waiting for that one more file, and then I'll show you.
Cool. Do you have off the top of your head any of the other collections? I guess it's almost ready here.
Yeah, I mean, we can open up the live demo and switch on one too.
Maybe just go to the settings and the pages, and you can click on that link to the GitHub pages.
Is it going to work if it's not deployed yet?
Just hit refresh a few times.
Okay.
That does it.
Well, you see it now, but it's not finished, so. Yeah, I feel like it has to build first, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was done. I think it's just another like few seconds here, but I'm just curious.
Should just drag it down and do it on here and then pull it back up too.
Yeah.
Okay. Where's the thing? Okay.
There you go.
Just had to
Just
refresh
take
it. And yeah, so that URL is just going to go here. And then I said, basically, it's not going to show you the floor prices because there's been no sales, but this is the collection dashboard shell. And then that banner that you would upload would go here, and then the title would go here. And you can click on any of the different Boomi NFTs, like this one, for instance, and it's just going to show you all of the attributes. And yeah, so something you can build upon. And if you're interested in doing the NFT battle, the actual challenge, which we'll get into pretty shortly, this is a good place to start as well. So on our GitHub or on our Replit. So we have our last battle, number 4.
Just have to go back to that
Oh,
the
whoops,
first
daisy.
tab there.
Sorry,
You'll have to go back to the presentation tab there.
is it on here?
Just scroll to the.
If you understand. There we go.
And I think it's this one here.
Cool.
There we go.
Okay, so we have our last battle, which is number 4. And basically, since we've been over the Boomi collection now, you know that there's 10 of those. So with the Bufficorns, there's, I think, like 10,000. So we're just going to include the first 10. So IDs 1 to 10 for Bufficorns. And basically, the challenge is for the Boomi team or for whoever wants to do whichever ones. What is the ID of the Boomi that has the following attributes? So the ears are romantic, and the nose is keen. And then the Bufficorn challenge is which of the IDs of the Bufficorns has happy eyes and mohawk headgear. So basically, again, just through the IDs 1 to 10, find those attributes.
I know there's like 10,000 Bufficorns, so you don't have to go through all of them. Just it's within the first 10. Anyone find those romantic ears and the keen nose for the Boomi collection?
Just a hint for that one. It's the one that looks a little more feminine.
Did you find it?
Yeah, exactly. The blush one. Do you
Which
have
is-
the ID, like the number for that?
Yep.
5, perfect. So far, I think the Boomi team is winning.
Yeah. And we got the Bufficorn that's got the happy eyes and the mohawk headgear. Okay, if you're going through it, let us know. But we can jump to the next part here in the interest of time and talk a little bit about the NFT battle. So the challenge here is to using both the Bufficorn and the Boomies of Crypto collections, create your best NFT gallery. And you basically have until 5 p.m. tomorrow with a top prize of 1,000 USD equivalent. But we also have a second place prize of 750 and a third place prize of 500 for just this NFT battle. And you can take what you build here and use it for your ETHDenver project if you like. But just to give you a sense of what we have seen folks build, there's some very interesting NFT galleries that we've seen. Most of them, adding an element of gaming or 3D, for example. I'll let you do the walkthrough.
Okay.
So I feel like an extra challenge of trying to play like an RPG on here.
On that screen.
Yeah. Okay, so this one here was made using the Unity library. And so what you can effectively do here, if I can get down to,
I think you're over it right
Yep.
now.
so I can basically put in an ID for any NFT, and I can get sort of an interesting little visualization of that particular NFT and some details about it. So that's a super simple, little gallery view that I can get using, the Unity engine if I wanted to use that. So that's one. Let's take a look at. That. That's still the seashell one. Oh, I'm opening it up here. That's why. All right, so here's another one that we've seen. Kind of an interesting, they kind of call themselves the Netflix of NFTs. But with each one, there's some interesting stats about the actual wallet sort of owning it, as well as a trade history. And you can actually even signal on that particular NFT collection if you think it's going to go up in value or drop in value. So some interesting little gaming mechanisms as part of that particular gallery. That's a little bit more advanced for sure. And then let's see if we can get this one here to work. And I'm going to get you, Lei, to walk through it.
It's a 3D gallery and it's challenging to get through the doors. So that's why I'm having the job of doing it.
All right. Maybe just escape and do it and then drag it over.
Okay.
So this was actually from one of the hackathons that we had sponsored. We actually sponsor a hackathon, probably 2 hackathons almost every month at sort of that cadence. And so this was...
Where did it just go?
It's actually the next tab up there. Yeah, there you go.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Maybe just
Can I close this?
get rid of it. Yeah, we don't need that one.
Okay. Getting the hang of it.
So this was a pretty cool one. Sort of a nice walkthrough with the...
Preach, I cannot find the mouse again. Where is it?
It's right here, somewhere here. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, okay, beautiful. This is so hard. There we go. Resume. Okay. Oh, that's fine because I'm pointed up. Okay. So yeah, we have an ongoing wallet design competition that we do for different chains that we index typically. So when we partnered with RSK, which is like a Bitcoin secured chain, we did a wallet design competition with them, and somebody built this, which is actually like a 3D NFT gallery that you can walk through and you can see the different images displayed on the walls. So it's kind of a fan favorite because it's just an interesting way to look at like your own assets or somebody else's, and you can see like what the world kind of looks like here if you go through. And then this is the challenging part, which is to actually walk in it and get through the door, which I have a really hard time doing. And I did it perfectly. Did you see that?
Very
Okay.
very nice light.
So when you configure this, a window pops up and it asks you what contract address you want to look at. Sorry, not contract, which wallet you want to look at, holding the different NFTs, and then what chain it's on. So I just selected an address that is holding the Boomi collection. But yeah, you can see I can walk around these rooms and I can see those different NFTs actually displayed on the walls. And this is using our metadata endpoint. So it's pulling the images from there and the titles for those different ones as well. And they made this gallery like pretty huge. So it typically just fills up the first room depending on how many NFTs you're actually holding. But for wallets that have a lot, you can fill this entire thing up and it's like a mansion of visualization or whatever. So yeah. So you can walk through and it's just a pretty cool experience. It's a different way to look at assets and something that we thought was like pretty interesting to just build at a quick hackathon. You could definitely expand on this so much, especially now that everybody's super into like the metaverse and solutions there and making things more 3D. And Harish has actually tried out doing some 3D projects. I don't know if you want to show them.
Yeah, we'll show a couple. So
yeah.
So this one, the developer is still working on it, so he didn't open source it. But we actually have a couple of other just sort of these simple little code templates that you can actually take, fork, and use it for your builds. And so we actually use Replit for a lot. I'm not sure if everyone here is familiar with Replit, but it's a fantastic tool, sort of a cloud-based IDE, but also got a pretty big community around it contributing to it. So let's take a look. I'm actually just going to pull this from our Notion page. Come on. All right, did that even go anywhere? There it is.
It disappeared. There we go, yeah.
This one I can get rid of. I don't need that. All right. Let me just blow this up here a little bit so it's a little easier to see. All right, so that's basically the Notion page. It's got all the details for this challenge. It's just at covalenthq.com/NFT-battle. So we're offering a $1,000 first prize for anyone who builds an NFT gallery. You got to use at least both the Bufficorn and the Boomi collections, which we went through in the workshop here.
Not exclusively though.
Not exclusively, no. You can use other collections for sure, but it should have at least some element of Boomi and Bufficorn in your gallery. So that's the 36-hour challenge that we announced earlier today. There's a Typeform link for your submissions. And then we actually have a couple of code templates here that you can basically take and fork and run with it. So the first one, if I can actually get my mouse here. So this is kind of cool. It's pretty simple. It's just a couple of rotating cubes, but they're actually making calls with our API to fetch the NFT metadata for each of the two collections we talked about. And it just updates the cube surface with each of those images. And again, if you want to play around with this, you can just fork the code and use it as you like. So that's one of the code templates. And then the second one, this is definitely much more of a metaverse feel here, where you're on some Martian terrain or whatnot, and we actually have a flag here that, oh god, is like almost impossible to do with the. I'm not even gonna make it, but basically you can have your flags littered out here as your NFTs. And again, this is also an open source piece of code template that you can take, fork, and use it for whatever builds you want to do for either the challenge or ETHDenver. Cool. We'll definitely encourage you guys to check that out. But that's basically our workshop. Any questions? We're happy to stick around, help anyone who's interested in using our API. But so if you go to covalenthq.com/NFT-battle, it'll take you to our Notion page, which has got all the information. If you actually even go to the ETHDenver schedule for this particular workshop, there's a link to this Notion page as well, so you can find it there as well. Awesome. Anyone got any questions about Covalent, the Covalent API, Web3, data? At this point, I'm just throwing out random words here, but NFT-battle. NFT-battle.
Yeah, and if you are in the ETHDenver schedule for the Boomi versus Bufficorn workshop, there's a link to the Notion as well.
So for those of you who are participating in as builders at the ETHDenver hackathon, Covalent's actually offering up $25,000 across multiple bounties. So do check it out. We're one of the, I think, Cypher, is that the right category? The Cypher sponsors. And so we've got prizes for builds that use different endpoints from our list of APIs. So if you use something around NFTs, there's a bounty, there's a set of bounties for that. If you use our decoded log events, there's a set of bounties for that, as well as for transactions and balances and whatnot. But yeah, really look forward to having you all take the opportunity, try out the API, use it for your builds, and we're happy to stick around here and answer any questions if anyone has. But thank you so much for coming out. Really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll open up to questions if anyone has any.
Or you can just walk up and ask.
Or just walk up and ask. We're quite friendly. Thank you.
I'll leave that up, I guess.
The ending, like the decision, that's 36 hours from now, or is it 36 hours from?
It was from this morning, so it's 5 p.m. Tomorrow. It's on the Notion page there. But yeah, by 5 p.m., get your submissions in, and then we'll announce it basically that evening. Doesn't have to be super fancy. Just needs to use those two collections that we talked about.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Just exiting some of the tabs.
We still have some of the shirts.
I don't know, Melton just left, so I'm not sure where she went.
Did you just take off with the shirts?
I think she might have.
Let me just see.
Oh no, they're piled up right there, so we can hand them out.
You just want to announce it?
Yeah. We also have the t-shirts that we're wearing and a couple others with Boomi on them up at the front too, so feel free to come grab those, especially our winners and everyone who answered those questions. Yeah.
Free t-shirts. Come get them. Awesome. All right. And then whenever you build it, you use it for Yeah, absolutely. People build also grabbing members, grabbing what token balances that the members might have, just be able to see what this look like. Sure. And then if you've got the progress, you don't need the voting or any of the proposals and all that stuff. And then it's generated by the contract that seems to left. Hi. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.